Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week, and this is the show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week and everything in between. And at the end of the video, we talk about the viewer's pick of the week, so in the comments below, let me know your pick of the week for a chance to be featured. Now let's jump in. I had a pretty heavy haul this week with 15 books. And I wish they would spread this out a little bit more in the month, because next week I have a small haul. So, you know, I like I said, 15's a lot. So let's get into number 15, though, which is Batman Superman World's Finest, issue 16, I believe we're up to. I'm upset to see this so low. I like this book a lot. I love the art. I even like the swimsuit cover for that one. I just haven't been liking this arc. It's very much about robots, AI. I know it started out with, the character who has like 5 different parts to his body. I forget his name. It starts with an M. Obviously not as invested in that portion of the story. And there's some good shining moments with Batman, like Green Arrow's interaction. But overall, I feel like this is a pretty forgettable arc, besides for the solid artwork by Dan Mora. So giving that 2 stars, and that is number 15. Moving on to number 14. Which is Bloodline, Daughter of Blade, issue 5. And, you know, it's kind of your run-of-the-mill series. I do think that the ending kind of ends on a whimper a little bit. It's, all right, cool, the family comes together, tries to fight this villain, and they win. There's nothing else that's really too shocking in this issue, and the artwork is still kind of bland for this one. But I like it. You know, I feel like I like this character. I just wish there was more that we were going to see with them. A promise that they'd be a bigger part in the Marvel Universe than just this corner of the series, because it was nice to see a new character, a new legacy character, and I feel like it was kind of a hidden series that a lot of people weren't talking about. So overall, giving that 2.5 stars, and that is number 14. Moving on to number 13, which is Wonder Woman issue 800. This issue I just got for the Trinity first appearance. I have not been reading Wonder Woman. This is not very new reader friendly. This arc and this issue, actually the whole first story is a part 2 of another story. So I was like, you're starting at issue 800. A legacy book with a part 2. I was pretty surprised by that. And then you get the Trinity story. You learn a little bit about her, that she's a bit different from Amazon's because she's actually interacts with mankind. Obviously, she's the daughter of Diana, but you're not getting too much to be like, whoa, I love this character. So overall, I do think this is pretty skippable, even though I like the artwork for it. I'm gonna get issue 1 of Wonder Woman to see what this new series and direction's gonna be about, but nothing really blew my mind here. Someone who wasn't reading Wonder Woman up to this point, up to this legacy book, which again I think could have been a lot more new reader friendly. All right, moving on to number 12, which is Rogue Sun. And I don't know if I gave a rating for that last one. It was 2.5 stars. But yes, moving on to Rogue Sun issue 13. And, you know, I'm still enjoying this series. It's a little bit of a slower burn, but I like the idea of our actual Rogue Sun having a literal out-of-body experience as we get to see him actually do well in life and people liking him, and it's not actually him. And, you know, we get to see a little bit more of the mystical side of things develop here and see a little bit of a bigger picture of the villains in the world. But overall, it is a very point A to point B issue. But I'm having a fun time with the series, like I said. It just hasn't skyrocketed to my top 5 in a little while. So giving that 3 stars, and that is number 12, I believe. Moving on to number 11, this is a final issue, and that is Batgirls issue 19, a book that I think especially in end was pretty solid, and this one definitely felt more like an end of an arc than an end of a series. Like, I wish it celebrated the Batgirls a little bit more, but there's a fun like back and forth between the villains, and we get to see a bit of Cassandra and Stephanie's team up. Is it the most memorable issue? No, I still think that arc where we got to deal with Cassandra and Stephanie's parents were a little bit stronger. But I still like seeing these characters interact. There's still some shining moments in this issue where I'm like, oh, that was a fun Steph moment. That was a fun Cassandra moment. But I do wish it was a little bit of a bigger issue. And I wish we knew what the future of these characters were, especially a Batgirl series. I do know Cassandra's going to be in Birds of Prey, so at least we're going to get that. But I wish we were going to see more of these characters and, again, have a Batgirl series on shelves. Or a promise of a Batgirl series on shelves would be nice. So giving that 3 stars, and that is number 11, I believe. Moving on to number 10, the big book of the week, and that is Ultimate Invasion, issue 1. So was it worth the hype? Yes and no. I feel like this issue in particular almost felt like an issue 0. Most of the issue is just like, here is Mr. Fantastic. What's going on? What's he doing? And it's not really until the end that you get answers, especially the epilogue, where we get to see Mr. Fantastic of the Ultimate Universe try to connect with Miles Morales, but then also deflect the spider from Peter Parker. And there's the question is like, is he trying to be Spider-Man? Is he just trying to prevent Spider-Man from, or Peter from being Spider-Man? So I'm curious about the bigger picture. Again, there's some sluggish moments to get to the revelations, but definitely enough revelations to say, okay, I'm excited to see where the Ultimate Universe is going. There's already promise that there will actually be Ultimate Universe series out there, which I'm excited for, and to see the bigger picture and who's going to be involved in that. But I do feel like this is kind of labeled wrong. It really does feel like more of an issue 0 than an issue 1. So overall, giving that 3 stars. Artwork is very familiar to the Avengers side of the Ultimate Universe. I'm guessing Brian Hitch honestly probably did the art for that, which wasn't always my favorite style, but I think it works for the mechanics of this series, which is more info dumping than the real emotions just yet. So giving that 3 stars, like I said, and that is number 10. Moving on to number 9, which is another new series, and that is the Incredible Hulk issue 1. If you like Immortal Hulk, I think there's definitely a flavor of that, which I liked. Even the opener, they talk about the Green Door, which is very much Immortal Hulk. And it's definitely more of like the monster haunting type horror with this one. It's very visual. There's not much of a story just yet. It's very much about like, okay, Bruce and Hulk obviously have their conflicts as always. There might be new characters introduced, might be new monsters that they're introducing, but it's very much like a setup issue more than anything. I don't know if I really got the emotions for this one, but the visuals and the tone did give me enough to be like, oh, I'm interested to see where issue 2 goes and what the vibe of this overall book's going to be and what the full story is going to be. So giving that 3 stars, and that is number 9. Moving on to number 8, which is Misery, issue 2. And this is an interesting book because I really like the Liz Allen parts of it. Like, I like her past. I enjoy just seeing her as a character, someone who doesn't really get the focal point very much. The Misery part, the part I thought I would really like, her being this Venom-esque character, or Carnage-esque character, is, I think, the least interesting of this book. It just almost feels like she doesn't really have as much conflict with it. It's just this suit that she wears, and I wish there was a little bit more back and forth and a little bit more story about her being this symbiote. But I do think the Liz Allen arc kind of balances it out a bit. The art is a little cartoony for me for this book, but there's something that maybe because I'm just such a big Liz Allen fan, there's something that is pulling me to it. I just don't know if it's the most well-balanced book overall. So giving that 3 stars, and that is number 8. Moving on to number 7, a book I've been really impressed with, and that is The Avengers, issue 2. And this issue, I think, does a really good job at what the Avengers has been trying to accomplish. These bigger pictures of like, Kang is taking over the world, or, this new villain is being introduced. And does a good job at grounding that, because it really is kind of a very similar story of like, okay, is Kang a hero? What's happening with him? What's his motives here? But because you do get that human element, you want to see more of the character journey. It feels like there's a lot of big picture things happening in a more microscopic point of view, which I like from a team book a bit more. There are definitely some sluggish parts, especially some of the action in this issue, and art is just okay for it, but I do think this book has a lot of potential, and I definitely like the direction of this one compared to some of the previous Avengers runs. So giving that 3.5 stars, and that is number 7, I believe. Moving on to number 6, which is Titans, issue 2. I really like the tone of this book thus far. If you enjoy like the Marv Wolfman run and the George Perez run of Titans, it kind of feels like an interesting predecessor to that. There's definitely a lot of soap opera, soap drama in this book. Literally, the opener is like, Wally's dead. Actually, it's a fake death. And we get to see them trying to like solve his murder. But then there's also what I think the slower parts being like them trying to save the environment or save some animals in this one, I thought kind of slowed stuff down. But there's some really interesting character beats that sprinkled in here, like Donna taking over the team and her not really feeling confident to be a leader. We obviously do get to see the Wally conflict. And then in the end, the big drama and the big soap opera moment is that Garth Aqualad is with the villain now. And you're like, okay, there's a lot of interesting moving parts in this issue that kind of builds a bigger world that I think Teen Titans and style storytelling we've seen in the past really works for. And obviously you got Nicholas Scott, who's just a brilliant artist on this one too, especially with facial expressions. I just think they're really a wonderful team so far. So giving that 3.5 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Saga, issue 65. And this issue, like the point A to point B moments, there are definitely, I don't know if anything explosive happens, but there's some really good character beats, especially between Hazel and Squire, where we get to see that, you know, they're still siblings, they still love each other, but they really have different points of view on life and their fathers and how they want to bring them back. So I thought that was a really interesting moment for them, and just seeing the very organic and involved intricacies of their relationship was really interesting. And I love Hazel's voice overall. I think the monologue is really great in this issue, and you just never know what to expect or where the series is going to go. It's just so wonderful in that way. And the artwork, obviously, you have Fiona Staples with some wonderful more space opera aspects, but then just the cool moments between brother and sister really work in this as well. So giving that 3.5 stars, and that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is Nightwing, issue 105, and this is the issue, the experimental issue that we've all been waiting for. It's literally a venture of Nightwing through his eyes. So we get to see it. The camera is literally in Nightwing's eyes, and I just love the video game aspect of it all. Kind of felt like this is a real deep cut, but like Mirror's Edge, if you guys remember that game from like Xbox, or I played on Xbox. And it, you know, obviously had that first person view and viewpoint, but then you also have the action, kind of the parkour playing out. And look, the story is pretty simple. It's like, okay, I gotta like save the sister of this villain, and even though they're a villain, we're gonna still try saving them. And there is this interesting moral conflict there. I enjoyed that as a story. I think it was a good through line as you are doing this more complicated visual of seeing everything from his point of view, which I really think they aced overall. I had a good time with the action. Again, I think it was a well-balanced issue, and even progressed the Nightwing story a little further with the bully character that was from his past now playing a bigger part in his story. So overall, giving that 4 stars. The artwork was gorgeous, and it's very experimental and definitely a worthwhile read. So giving that number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 109. Another really, really well done issue for Power Rangers. It's just so seamless of the storytelling and the progression of these stories, where we get to see Matt as an evil Green Ranger, all while Zed, who's playing a little bit more of a hero, fights Rita. And there's just so many great little character moments, like we get to see Aisha and Matt, you know, they almost had a romantic thing, and they talk about that. So I really love how much can be packed in an issue, all while Zords are being played with and fighting, you know, Power Ranger action there. And I just think it's a really well-balanced story and book, where it progresses the mythology, it progresses the superhero moments, all while also progressing these more character moments, like just Matt as a person. So giving that 4 stars. Artwork is so well done for this too. Super clean for this book, and again, really does well with the character moments and the action as well. So giving that 4 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, a book I love. I'm sad it's the penultimate issue, and that's Hellcat issue 4. I love this book. Just every issue, you don't know what to expect, but you also know it's just this moral conundrum of Patsy maybe not being a great person, and that's kind of what the whole story is about. She's not a hero, and every wrong choice that she's made in the past, and her connections to literal hell. But there's some really great character moments in here too, between Patsy and Hetty in particular. I think they did a really good job with, of like, hey, they can hate each other one moment, and then the next Hetty's gonna help, you know, Hellcat not to die. And you get a lot from her past. Her ex-husband comes back, and then she turns into a demon. There's a lot that's packed into this issue, and it all works for Hellcat's story and what we've seen in the past with her. And the artwork is really well done. It's gritty. It just works very well for this. And then, yeah, the murder mystery aspect, you are still digging deeper into it, but it's not really a whodunit. It's more like a why did they do it? So I thought this was a really solid issue. So I'm giving that 4 stars, and that is number 2 for me. Moving on to number 1, which is Superman. Issue, what are we up to? Issue 5. this is just a fun issue. And I'm going to say this in the most positive way, because I truly believe it. I think this is just a really well done Arrowverse episode. Like, when Arrowverse was like at its prime and like the best of what it could be, it feels like that. It kind of feels like a television show where you get to see the romantic drama between Jimmy and Silver Banshee, all while Superman is trying to do what's best for his friend, but also Lex Luthor of all people. But then there's also kind of the big bad in the background. It really does play off of a lot of the tropes of Arrowverse, but again, in the best way possible. It really moves very well. There's some good character development, and I really just like how much can be packed into an issue where, again, you do get to see some Clark and Lois moments, but then also you do have the bigger picture of Superman and Lex, and then Lex getting stabbed in the stomach at the end of the issue, all while Superman's hearing is gone, so he couldn't hear Lex being hurt. So you're like, oh man, Clark is going to feel really guilty about this. So there's just so many different layers that can be dug into here, all while kind of expanding your cast, because maybe Silver Banshee will be a bigger character. Maybe we'll see even more development with her as Jimmy starts to date her more. And I just thought it was a really well-balanced issue with obviously gorgeous art that I think, again, balances really well with Clark's life to Superman's life as well. So overall, giving that 4 stars, an easy pick of the week for me, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of all of your comics this week, and let me know your pick of the week, because you'll have a chance to be featured on the episode. Thanks, guys. This is Comic Uno, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.